Welcome back to IGCSE Science Academy, where science made simple and clear. Let's start it. Today we are beginning a new topic from Unit Land, which focused on food production and crop yield, specifically sustainable agriculture for future generation. This unit is highly interconnected with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We will be focusing on SDG 2 Zero Hunger, SDG 6 Clean Water and Sanitation, SDG 8 Decent Work and Economic Growth, SDG 12 Responsible Consumption and Production, and SDG 15 Life on Land. By the end of this module, you will be understand the techniques used to increase crop yield and the environmental and economic impact that follows. Let's get started. Here are the learning objectives. By end of this lesson, we will able to describe the different types of agriculture, arable, pastoral and mixed, classify agriculture as subsistence or commercial, define sustainable food production and its importance, explain strategies to increase food production and crop yield, analyze the impact of unsustainable agricultural practices, connect agricultural methods to relevant sustainable development goals. Types of agriculture. To understand how land is managed, we first need to distinguish between these three primary types of agriculture, depending on the climate, soil quality, and economic needs. Farmers generally fall into one of these three categories. First is arable farming. This is the cultivation of crops on plowed land, think of vast fields of wheat, maize, or rice. The focus here is entirely on plant-based production. Pastoral pastoral farming. Instead of crops, this focuses on raising livestock. This includes animals kept for meat, milk, or wool, such as cattle, sheep, or goats. This is often practiced on land that might be too hilly or dry for crops but perfect for grazing. Mixed. Mixed farming, as the name suggests, this is a combination of both arable farming and pastoral farming. A mixed farmer will grow crops and raise livestock on the same farm. This is often a more sustainable cycle as manure from the animals can be used to fertilize the crops, and some crops can be grown specifically for animal feed. Understanding these types help us analyze which method is most efficient for a specific environment. Now let's take a closer look at arable farming. By definition, this refers to the growing of crops on cultivated land. This includes cereal, wheat, rice, maize, vegetables, fruit and cash crops, cotton, coffee, tea. There are four main characteristics we need to remember for our exams regarding this farming type. First one is environmental requirements, requires fertile soil and adequate water supply. Second is labor patterns, labor intensive during planting and harvesting seasons. Third is risk factors, vulnerable to weather conditions and pest. Fourth one is scale and technology, can be mechanized for large scale reproduction. So this brings us to a question: if weather and pest are such high risk, what technologies do you think farmers use to protect their yields? Having looked at crops, we now pivot to pastoral farming. This is the branch of agriculture dedicated to the rearing of animals. So let's discuss the definition of pastoral farming: the rearing of animals for products such as meat, milk, eggs, wool, and leather. Common livestock includes cattle, sheep, goats, pig, and poultry. Depending on the resources available and the environment, pastoral farming generally takes one of three forms. First one is intensive. Intensive pastoral farming. This involves a high stocking density, meaning many animals are kept in a relatively small space. They are often kept indoors and rely on supplementary feeding rather than just grazing on natural grass. This is common in more developed agricultural systems where land is expensive but technology is high. Extensive pastoral farming, this is the opposite. It features a low stocking density where animals are allowed to graze freely over large open areas. This is typical in regions where land is plentiful but perhaps less fertile, requiring animals to roam further to find enough food. Nomadic pastoral farming, this is a traditional and highly adaptive method where herder moves their livestock seasonally. They don't have a fixed farm, instead they migrate to find fresh pasture and water sources as the weather changes. Each of these methods has a different impact on the land, particularly regarding soil compaction and vegetation regrowth, which we will explore later in the unit. The third type of agriculture is mixed farming. This is a mutually beneficial system where crops and livestock are raised on the same farm. The definition is a combination of arable and pastoral farming on the same farm. Crops are grown and livestock are raised, creating a mutually beneficial system. This integration offers several distinct advantages. Animals manure provides natural fertilizers for crops. Crop residues and byproducts feed livestock. Diversified income reduces financial risk, better utilization of farm resources and labor throughout the year, improves soil fertility through crop rotation and organic matter. Essentially, mixed farming creates a closed loop system that is often more sustainable. Now that we understand what is being produced, we need to look at why and how it is produced by comparing subsistence and commercial farming. This distinction is vital for understanding global food security and economic development. On the left, we have subsistence farming. This is farming grown primarily for family consumption, meaning the goal is to feed the farmer's own household. It is typically involves small-scale operations with low levels of technology and mechanization. Because the focus is on survival, there is a very limited surplus available for sale at market. It is most common in developing countries and the labor is provided by family members rather than hired help. Here are some key points: grown primarily for family consumption, small scale operations, low technology and mechanization, limited surplus for sale, common in developing countries, labor provided by family members. On right, on the right we have commercial farming. This is a business-driven model where crops and livestock are grown primarily for profit. These are large-scale operations that utilize high technology and heavy mechanization to maximize efficiency. To ensure high yield, there is extensive use of fertilizers and pesticides. This system is common in developed countries and relies on hired labor rather than just the family unit. Here are the key points: grown primarily for profit, large-scale operations, high technology and mechanization, extensive use of fertilizers and pesticides, common in developed countries, employs hired labor. As we move forward, think about the environmental trade-offs. While commercial farming produced more food, what might be the long-term impact of its heavy chemical use compared to subsistence methods? Everything we have discussed so far, from the types of farming to the scale of production, leads us to this central challenge: sustainable food production. Sustainability in agriculture is defined as the production of sufficient food for the present generation using methods that ensure future generations can grow food from the same land. It is a balance act. We must meet the caloric needs of today's global population without exhausting the soil's natural nutrients, over extracting or polluting water sources, damaging the biodiversity that supports the ecosystem. As we move into the next part of this unit, we will look at specific strategies that allow us to keep the land productive forever rather than just for a few profitable seasons. To achieve the goal we just discussed, feeding the present without compromising the future, we must follow three core principles of sustainable agriculture. These principles act as a roadmap for ethical and efficient farming. First is environmental stewardship. This is the green heart of sustainability. It focuses on protecting our natural capital, especially soil, water, and biodiversity, so they remain healthy and available for future use. Social responsibility. Agriculture is a human endeavor. This principle ensures that sustainability includes people focusing on the fair treatment of farm workers and ensuring they are paid living wages for their essential labor. Resources efficiency. This is about doing more with less. By minimizing waste and maximizing the productivity we get from every single input like seeds, water, or energy, we reduce the overall footprint of the farm. By balancing these three areas, we move away from extractive farming and towards a system that can truly last forever. Here are some strategies to increase food production. First is irrigation, providing water to crops in areas with insufficient rainfall. Fertilization, adding nutrients to soil to increase crop yields. Pest control, using methods to reduce crop damage from insects and diseases. Mechanization, using machinery to increase efficiency and scale. Crop rotation, alternating different crops to maintain soil health. Selective breeding, developing crops varieties with desirable traits. Genetic modification, engineering crops for higher yield and resistance. One of the biggest limiting factors in agriculture is the availability of water. In water scarce regions, irrigation systems are absolutely essential for increasing food production and ensuring crops reach harvest. However, not all systems are created equal. They vary significantly in efficiency and cost. Let's look at the three most common methods. First is surface irrigation. This is the most traditional method where water simply follows across fields by gravity. While it is simple and inexpensive to set up, it is quite inefficient as it can waste large amounts of water through evaporation and surface runoff. Water flows across field by gravity is simple but can waste water through evaporation and runoff. Second is sprinkler irrigation. This method uses pipes to spray water over crops, mimicking natural rainfall. It is more efficient than surface irrigation because the water is distributed more evenly, but it does require energy to pump and pressurize the water. So here water sprayed over crops like rainfall more efficient than surface irrigation but requires energy. Third is drip irrigation. This is the gold standard for sustainability. Water is delivered directly to the plant roots through a network of tubes. It is the most water efficient method available, reducing evaporation losses by up to 60%. So here water delivered directly to plant roots through tube. Most water efficient method reduces evaporation losses by up to 60%. As we consider our sustainability goals, specifically SDG 6 for clean water, choosing the right irrigation system becomes a vital decision for any modern farmer. Fertilizers and soil management. To maintain high crop yields over time, we must manage the nutrients in our soil. This brings us to the debate between organic and inorganic fertilizers. Both aim to provide the three essential soil nutrients known as NPK: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. On the left, we have organic fertilizers. These are natural materials like animal mm, and compost, animal waste in compost. They provide a slow release of nutrients which matches the plant's natural growth cycle. Beyond just feeding the plant, they actually improve soil structure and are very environmentally friendly. For small scale farms, these are often the most cost effective options. Here are the key points. Animal manure and compost, slow release of nutrients, improves soil structure, environmentally friendly, lower cost for small farms. On the right, we have inorganic fertilizers. These are synthetic chemicals designed for a quick release of nutrients. Their aim advantage is precision. Farmers can apply precise nutrients ratios tailored to a specific crop's need. However, there are significant downsides. They come with a higher initial cost and, if overused, carry a high risk of soil degradation and water pollution through runoff. Here are the key points. Synthetic chemicals, NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, quick release of nutrients, precise nutrients ratios, risk of soil degradation, higher initial cost. Essential soil nutrients, NPK, nitrogen, leaf for leaf growth, phosphorus for root development, potassium for disease resistance. As we look back at our goals for sustainable agriculture, we have to ask, how can we use these tools to maximize production without damaging the biological health of the soil? Pest control methods. When we have planted our crops and managed the soil, we have to protect that investment from pests. There are three main philosophies when it comes to pest control methods, ranging from immediate chemical fix to long-term ecological management. First one is chemical pesticides. This is the most common conventional method. These are fast acting and highly effective at killing pests quickly. However, they come with significant drawbacks. They can harm beneficial insects like bees. There is a constant risk of pests developing resistance, and they can cause potential environmental damage if they leak into the water table. Here are the key points. Fast acting and effective, can harm beneficial insects, risk of pest resistance, potential environmental damage. Biological control. This is a much more natural approach that involves using natural predators such as introducing ladybugs to eat aphids while it is environmentally sustainable and non-toxic. It is slower to show results and required very careful management to ensure the new predator does not become a pest itself. Here are the key points. Using natural predators, environmentally sustainable, slower to show results, required careful management. Integrated pest management. This is the most sustainable approach. It combines multiple methods using biological control first, changing planting patterns, and only using chemical as a last resort. It involves monitoring pest populations closely to minimize chemical use, providing a sustainable long-term solution for the farm ecosystem. Here are the key points. Combine multiple methods, monitor pest population, minimize chemical use, sustainable long-term solution. The goal of modern environmental management is to move as many farmers as possible towards integrated pest management model to protect biodiversity. Here are some modern agricultural technologies. Precision agriculture using GPS sensors and data analytics to optimize field management and resource use. Hydroponic, growing plants in nutrient-rich water without soil, saving water and space. Vertical farming, stacking crops in layers indoors, maximizing production in limited space. Genetically modified crops, engineering crops for drought resistance, pest resistance, and higher nutritional value. Drones and robotics, monitoring crop health, applying pesticides precisely, and automating harvesting. Now let's discuss about intensive farming and monoculture. Intensive farming, High input, high output farming with large capital investment, heavy use of fertilizers, pesticides, and machinery to maximize yields from limited land area. Monoculture, growing a single crop species over a large area year after year, allows specialization and efficiency but depletes specific soil nutrients and increases pest vulnerability. What are the advantages of intensive farming? Maximum crop yield, efficient use of land, predictable harvest, economics of scale, consistent quality, mechanization, reduce labor cost. Disadvantages of intensive farming: soil degradation, heavy chemical use pollutes water, loss of biodiversity, high capital cost, environmental damage, sustainability concern long terms. Impacts: what are the impacts on sustainability? While productive, short-term intensive farming and monoculture often compromise long-term soil health and ecosystem balance, requiring sustainable practices to maintain productivity. Another method that is mixed cropping and intercropping. Mixed cropping, growing two or more crop simultaneously on the same land to maximize space utilization, reduce pest risk, and improve soil health through crop diversity. Intercropping, planting different crops in alternating rows or patterns. Examples: corn with beans, wheat with mustard, maximizing land use and ecological benefits. Advantages of mixed cropping: better soil fertility, reduced pest outbreak, lower risk of total crop failure, efficient use of resources, improved biodiversity, natural pest control. Challenges of mixed cropping: require more knowledge and planning, competition between crops if not chosen carefully, more labor-intensive harvesting mechanization difficulties. What are the examples which are in practice? Maize bean intercropping in Africa, rich fish farming in Asia, alley cropping with trees and crops, three sister systems: corn, beans, and squash. Crop rotation. What is crop rotation? Systematically growing different crops in the same field across different regions, seasons, or years to maintain soil fertility and break pest cycles. What are the benefits of crop rotation? Prevents soil nutrient depletion, breaks pest and diseases cycles, improves soil structure, reduces need for chemical fertilizers, increases crop yield over time. Common rotation patterns: legumes add nitrogen, cereal use nitrogen, root crops break up soil. Examples: bean, wheat, potatoes repeat the cycle. Four field system examples: year 1 wheat, year 2 turnips, year 3 barley, year 4 clover fixes nitrogen, then cycle repeats, maintaining soil productivity sustainably. Environmental impacts: reduce chemical inputs by 20 to 30%, improves soil organic matter, promotes beneficial soil microorganisms, sustainable long-term food production. Building on our previous discussion of irrigation, we must look at improved irrigation methods. This represents advanced water delivery systems designed with two primary goals: maximizing efficiency and minimizing waste. So advanced water delivery systems that maximize efficiency and minimize waste. Let's explore three specific strategies that are transforming sustainable water use on farms. Drip and trickle irrigation. This is a highly targeted system where water is delivered directly to plant roots through tubes and emitters. It is incredibly effective, reducing overall water use by 30 to 70% because it minimizes evaporation. It also allows for precise nutrient delivery directly to where the plant needs it most. Rainfall harvesting, collecting and storing rainfall from roofs, surfaces or land for agriculture use. Sustainable, reduced dependence on groundwater, free water resource. Instead of relying on finite groundwater, this sustainable method involves collecting and storing rainfall from roof surfaces or the land itself. Automatic watering systems. This is the smart side of irrigation. These are sensor-based systems that monitor actual soil moisture levels in real time. They automatically irrigate only when needed, which optimize water use, reduce manual labor, and most importantly, prevents both overwatering and underwatering. By utilizing these advanced technologies, farmers can significantly lower their environmental footprint while ensuring their crops remain productive even in drier climates. Mechanization in controlled systems. These technologies allow us to break away from traditional environmental constraints and move toward industrial scale efficiency. First, let's look at the big bone of modern farming: agricultural mechanization. This involves using machinery like tractors, harvesters, and planters. This not only increases speed and the scale of operations but significantly reduces the need for manual labor. Use of machinery like tractors, harvesters, planters to increase efficiency and productivity, reduce labor needs, increase speed and scale of operations. Controlled environmental agriculture. We can now grow crops in enclosed environments where we regulate temperature, humidity, light, and carbon dioxide levels. Think of greenhouse or climate controlled growth rooms that allow us to farm regardless of the weather outside. However, these advancements come with a set of trade-offs. Advantages of mechanization: higher productivity, consistent quality, reduced labor cost, year-round production possible, protection from weather extremes, precise resource management. Disadvantages: high initial investments, requires technical knowledge, energy-intensive maintenance cost, can displace agricultural workers, environmental concern from energy use. Smart farming integration, combining mechanization with IoT sensors, Internet of Things sensors, special kind of sensors are used, AI in data analytics for precision control, automated decision making, and optimized resource allocation. Finally, we are seeing the rise of smart farming integration by combining heavy machinery with IoT sensors, AI, and data analytics. This high-tech approach is essential for meeting global food demands, but as environmental managers, we must ensure these systems remain energy efficient and socially equitable. This slide brings us to the end of our exploration into food production and crop yield. We have journeyed from the basic types of agriculture to the high-tech world of smart farming and controlled environments. The core message of this unit is clear: to achieve SDG to zero hunger, we must evolve our methods. Feeding the world sustainably means finding the right balance between high yield technology and careful environmental stewardships. We must protect the land today so that it remains a resource for the generations of tomorrow. Thank you for your attention. I will now open the floor for any questions you may have about the systems of or sustainability principles we have covered today. You can ask your questions in the comment section. If you found this session helpful and want to stay updated on more topics within the IGCSE Environmental Management curriculum, please consider subscribing to the channel for more educational content. Stay tuned for our upcoming lessons where we will dive even deeper into environmental management topics.